Hi, friends, and welcome to your daily devotional for Monday, June 21st, 2021. Well, this month we are talking about sanctuary, and this week in particular, we are talking about losing your sanctuary. In the next few moments, I invite you to think about a person or two that you've lost and has caused you to feel like you've lost your sanctuary. Our word from the psalmist today comes from Psalm 119. We'll be reading verses 113 through 128 from the Common English Bible. Listen now for God's word to us. I hate fickle people, but I love your instruction. You are my shelter and my shield. I wait for your promise. Get away from me, you evildoers. I want to guard my God's commandments. Sustain me according to your word so I can live. Don't let me be put to shame because of hope. Support me so I can be saved and so I can focus constantly on your statutes. You discard everyone who strays from your statutes because they are dishonest and false. You dispose of all the wicked people on earth like waste. That's why I love your laws. My body shudders because I fear you. I'm in awe of your rules. I've done what is just and right. Don't hand me over to my oppressors. Guarantee good things for your servant. Please, don't let the arrogant oppress me. My eyes are worn out looking for your saving help, looking for your word that will set things right. Act toward your servant according to your faithful love. Teach me your statutes. I'm your servant. Help me understand so I can know your laws. It is time for the Lord to do something. Your instruction has been broken, but I love your commandments more than gold, even more than pure gold. That's why I walk straight by every single one of your precepts. That's why I hate every false path. Let us pray. Jesus, our friend and Savior, guide us in this new day, that we may know God's desire for us and gain strength and courage to live as beloved children of God. Amen. Our Old Testament reading today comes from 1 Samuel chapter 18, verses 6 through 30 from the Message Bible. Listen for God's word. As they returned home after David had killed the Philistine, the women poured out of the villages of Israel singing and dancing, welcoming King Saul with tambourines, festive songs, and lutes. In playful frolic, the women sang, "Saul kills by the 1,000, David by the 10,000." This made Saul angry, very angry. He took it as a personal insult. He said, "They credit David with 10,000s and me with only thousands. Before you know it, they'll be giving him the kingdom." From that moment on, Saul kept his eye on David. The next day, an ugly mood was sent by God to afflict Saul, who became quite beside himself, raving. David played his harp as he usually did at such times. Saul had a spear in his hand. Suddenly, Saul threw the spear, thinking, "I'll nail David to the wall." David ducked, and the spear missed. This happened twice. Now Saul feared David. It was clear that God was with David and had left Saul. So Saul got David out of his sight by making him an officer in the army. David was in combat frequently. Everything David did turned out well. Yes, God was with him. As Saul saw David becoming more successful, he himself grew more fearful. He could see the handwriting on the wall, but everyone else in Israel and Judah loved David. They loved watching him in action. One day, Saul said to David, "Here is Merab, my eldest daughter. I want to give her to you as your wife. Fight God's battles. Be bold and brave for my sake." But all the time, Saul was thinking, the Philistines will kill him for me. I won't have to lift a hand against him. David, embarrassed, answered, "Do you really mean that? I'm from a family of nobodies. I can't be son-in-law to the king." The wedding day was set, but as the time neared for Merab and David to be married, Saul reneged and married his daughter off to Adriel, the Meholathite. Meanwhile, Saul's daughter Michal was in love with David. When Saul was told of this, he rubbed his hands in anticipation. A second chance. I'll use Michal as bait to get David out where the Philistines will make short work of him. So again, he said to David, "You're going to be my son-in-law." Saul ordered his servants, "Get David off by himself and tell him the king is very taken with you and everyone at court loves you. Go ahead, become the king's son-in-law." The king's servants told all this to David, but David held back. "What are you thinking of? I can't do that. I'm a nobody. I have nothing to offer." When the servants reported David's response to Saul, he told them to tell David this: "The king isn't expecting any money from you, only this. Go kill 100 Philistines and bring evidence of your vengeance on the king's behalf. Avenge the king of his enemies." Saul expected David to be killed in battle. On receiving this message, David was pleased. There was something he could do for the king that would qualify him to be his son-in-law. He lost no time, but went right out, he and his men, and killed 100 Philistines, brought their evidence back in a sack, and counted it out before the king. Mission completed. Saul gave Michal, his daughter, to David in marriage. As Saul more and more realized that God was with David and how much his own daughter Michal loved him, his fear of David increased and settled into hate. Saul hated David. Whenever the Philistine warlords came out to battle, David was there to meet them and beat them, upstaging Saul's men. David's name was on everyone's lips. Have you ever felt threatened by someone the way Saul felt about David? What did you do about that? Our New Testament reading today comes from Acts chapter 27, verses 13 through 38 from the Common English Bible. Listen again for God's word to us. When a gentle south wind began to blow, they thought they could carry out their plan. They pulled up anchor and sailed closely to the coast of Crete. Before long, a hurricane-strength wind known as a northeaster swept down from Crete. The ship was caught in the storm and couldn't be turned in the wind. So we gave into it, and it carried us along. After sailing under the shelter of an island called Cauda, we were able to control the lifeboat, only with difficulty. They brought the lifeboat aboard, then began to wrap the ship with cables to hold it together. Fearing they might run aground on the sandbars of the Gulf of Syrtis, they lowered the anchor and let the ship be carried along. We were so battered by the violent storm that the next day the men began throwing cargo overboard. On the third day, they picked up the ship's gear and hurled it into the sea. When neither the sun nor the moon appeared for many days, and the raging storm continued to pound us, all hope of our being saved from this peril faded. For a long time, no one had eaten. Paul stood up among them and said, "Men, you should have complied with my instructions not to sail from Crete. Then we would have avoided this damage and loss. Now I urge you to be encouraged. Not one of your lives will be lost, though we will lose the ship. Last night, an angel from God, to whom I belong and whom I worship, stood beside me. The angel said, 'Don't be afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar. Indeed, God has also graciously given you everyone sailing with you. Be encouraged, men. I have faith in God that it will be exactly as he told me. However, we must run aground on some island.' On the 14th night, we were being carried across the Adriatic Sea. Around midnight, the sailors began to suspect that land was near. They dropped a weighted line to take soundings and found the water to be about 120 feet deep. After proceeding a little farther, we took soundings again and found the water to be about 90 feet deep. Afraid that we might run aground somewhere on the rocks, they hurled out 4 anchors from the stern and began to pray for daylight. The sailors tried to abandon the ship by lowering the lifeboats into the sea, pretending they were going to lower anchors from the bow. Paul said to the centurion and his soldiers, 'Unless they stay in the ship, you can't be saved from peril.' The soldiers then cut the ropes to the lifeboat and let it drift away. Just before daybreak, Paul urged everyone to eat. He said, 'This is the 14th day you've lived in suspense, and you've not had even a bite to eat. I urge you to take some food. Your health depends on it. None of you will lose a single hair from your head.' After he said these things, he took bread, gave thanks to God in front of them all, then broke it and began to eat. Everyone was encouraged and took some food. In all, there were 276 of us on the ship. When they had eaten as much as they wanted, they lightened the ship by throwing the grain into the sea." Friends, this is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Imagine that you're a sailor on this ship with Paul. How do you think you would have responded to his supposed revelation? Let us pray. Jesus, divine companion, as the day unfolds, give us strength to understand and eyes to see as you teach us to walk the soft earth related to all that lives. Amen. Friends, may your actions take root and produce wonderful things, things of beauty and great blessings to many. Go in peace. I'll see you tomorrow.